Yeah, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. I have no idea what happened. Uh, I could tell you what it said because maybe the language I'm using, but I don't know. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. So it was removed due to a violation of our community guidelines. Realize you may not know this was a violation, so you did not get a warning or a strike. So they just removed the video. Yeah, well, here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I am going to do. I had a story I wanted to tell, just to, hold on, let me go back on YouTube. All right, cool. Let me get back up in here. All right. Shit, I might get good up. I might be getting good at this pasting and. Okay, where'd it go? Pin message. All right, message is pinned back. So, all right. Yeah. So, you know what I think I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go to my original. Let me find my. I'm just gonna put resources because it doesn't tell me what I did, so I'm not sure how to actually go about it. And I don't like wasting people's time. If you guys are tuning in for this awareness, I wanted to give you what I plan to give you, but I don't. Yeah. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. What's up, Glow? Glow. I thought I was cute with that little thing I had there, and they kicked me off. Yeah, it's weird because one of the things I did because I wasn't sure is I went on YouTube and I looked at titles that had the word in it, and I saw plenty of titles with the word. I saw plenty of panels with them discussing it, and so I don't know exactly what happened. It is disappointing to not know because I don't know what I can actually say. Yeah, it may have been the title. You're right. But I've had the title up at least about 2 weeks now. So, all right, let me add homie. Let me just make sure this is him. It is. All right, cool. Yeah. I had the title up a while ago. And like I said, I went on YouTube and was just checking out other titles, full conversations, and I was like, okay, I can duplicate that. I don't know if they're considered I don't know if they're journalistic, accreditations, or they're, professional situation helps them. Good evening. How you doing? It's Galen Knight. Appreciate you for stopping in. Yeah. I don't know. But anyway, I'm gonna to do this again. And this is the thing. Like, this was probably I've probably done like this when it comes to like being on shows, having conversations. Yes, sir. What's good, brother?
Peace, fam. Peace.
Oh, you coming in loud? Man, y'all ain't gonna be over. Y'all ain't gonna be doing that to me. We not doing this.
Hey, man, this is just the MacBook mic, man.
You got your lips on the mic. Jeez.
Not at all, actually. I'm actually laid back in the chair, my brother.
Okay. All right. You know I gotta talk.
Have that what do they call it? Midnight storm, man. Quiet storm voice.
Yeah, coming in next. We got a hit from back in the day.
Hey, I want to shout out Carla Martin and Lisa J. Stocks for the cash apps. Appreciate it. That's the other thing too. I was like on the fence about doing the cash app thing, but I feel like, because I don't necessarily need it, but I do, I put a lot of hours into what I do. So if people want to show appreciation, I'm going to definitely appreciate them for that. So, all right. Okay. Glow. Okay.
Hey.
What's going on, Glow?
Yeah, Glow.
Long time.
Hey, y'all. I know. How y'all doing?
Good.
Peace.
Appreciate you for popping up. Appreciate it.
I know.
Long time. Right.
I know. I've been busy.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
So I shared you out. So hopefully more people will stop by. But
Yeah.
I'm always missing this stuff, bro. So I was like, let me make sure I swing through this time.
No, I appreciate it. And I made a Rumble account for a couple of people. So you were one of the first people that was like, get on Rumble. So I made a Rumble account.
Oh, thank you.
So I'm going to, when you do your, I know you said the season is over.
Yeah.
But, I was challenging a keeper to a music battle. I think that's where we need to go over the Rumble so we can really, really, really get it in.
Yeah, because YouTube is oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's why I had to. It was too many. It was too many. No. It was too much and too many of YouTube.
Yep. All right, so I'm gonna try this now. I'm gonna just start and tell this story, and then we'll go into you guys have a story you want to share, and you guys want to, and I got a little bit of information. On my original post, I had like 7 or 8 different resources for people that can reach out for mental health crisis and things that can help you in your day-to-day. So but it's not in this one. So maybe I'll at some point, if somebody else is talking, I'll go grab it and make sure, because the main thing is I wanted to tell a story, give some signs, some signals, and then some resources, and then kind of just go there. That's really all I wanted to do. But YouTube didn't even let me get started. So now I'm wondering if I got a tiptoe, but I'm gonna go ahead and try it and see where we go, see how it goes. But again, I appreciate y'all for coming up, and I appreciate everybody. We got 16 people in here. Hit the like if you haven't already, but hit that like and stay for a little while.
I'm gonna drop down because my audio is kind of like you can hear in the background and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm getting, I don't know if y'all can hear it, I'm getting a really nasty feedback on my mic on my end. So I'm gonna drop. Yeah, it's on my end. I'm gonna drop down. I'm gonna give it a few minutes, and I'm gonna try to jump back up.
Okay. All right. Hey, Miss Teresa, how you doing?
Hello, darling. How are you, gentlemen?
Doing good. Salute for coming up. Appreciate you.
Hello.
Oh, I had to. Hello,
indeed,
guys.
Afternoon.
Thank you. I just got back in, but I want to come up here, show some love, and give you support. I had already mentioned it's a little heavy for me, but of course I had to show you some love and get you in that rotation.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. Really, really appreciate it.
Okay, darling. So I'm going to go ahead and get down. You guys, do what you do, and I don't have any words for this subject, but
okay.
Respect. Peace to you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, darling.
Yep. Mr. Triggs. What's going on, Triggs? Oh, I got to salute the homie in here, Chicago Rilla. His brother's out in Chicago, and he takes you out around Chicago to, art themed places, live music. Yeah, man. I appreciate you for stopping through, Chicago. Appreciate it, man. Salute. So I'm gonna start off because I'm just gonna describe myself, and I probably said this before. I'm 6'3", I'm about 270 pounds, and the brother I'm gonna talk to you about is my height and probably about 100 more pounds than me. Big solid dude, bigger beard, tatted up, love motorcycles, survived, poverty. Actually, him and I were homeless together at one point, living in the YMCA. Like, he made it through all of those things, the drug game, getting locked up. Like, he made it through all those things, and then he died by unaliving himself in his 40s. So so I'm gonna talk about him a little bit. And hey, Miss Things, I was just talking about Chicago Rilla, Miss Things. He highlights his brother highlights good things in Chicago. So, and I know you from Chicago. We got a couple of people. Who else is from Chicago in here? Link up with Chicago Rilla. He's outside too. He's not just doing just doing basic stuff, man. He's outside. He definitely highlights. I know certain places got that image of how they are, but he actually goes out and he's out and about and highlights like real good, down to earth Chicago stuff and enjoys himself, and peaceful dude, peaceful brother. But yeah, link up with that brother right there. If Triggs, could you put Chicago Rilla's page in there, his channel here for me, if you're still here? So, all right, let me get to the story. So at one point I was struggling in this truly legitimately my brother from another mother. He was like, hey man, listen, why don't you come up here? You ain't got to work. He was like basically telling me to reset, leave everything behind, reset, and get your mind right, because the direction you going, you're gonna snap on somebody. And I remember listening to it, and I was like, yeah, whatever. But I'm a man through it. You know what I'm saying? I'm a man through it. I'm gonna tough through it. I'm gonna stiff upper lip. I'm gonna be stoic. All that stuff that men do. And I'm one of those people that everybody kind of comes to, whether it be like advice or whether it be money or a place to stay. I grew up with my mother providing people with a place to stay. If you needed a couch or a floor to sleep on, my mother allowed people to come in and stay there. And when I became an adult, I kind of mimicked that, where somebody needed something. But all in all, I wouldn't go to people when I had issues. I would try to figure out a way to just push through it. And there was one day I was in my car, I'm driving, and I'm at a red light. And as soon as the light turned green, the person behind me laid on the horn. And I'm like, man, why this? I throw the car in park. I look in the rearview mirror, and it's a woman. So now I'm like, when am I? Put the car back in drive. Drove home, got home, and all 6'3", 200 or whatever pounds of me in my living room, dropped down on my knees and just like cry. Like if you were outside the window, you wouldn't know what that was coming from inside of my living room. Okay. And after I blew off that steam, like a little later, I went to the gun range and then went to the gym. So it was like one of them things where like I got a full load off, so I felt better after that. But that didn't, that was just like something I said, okay, I got through it. Now, if I have some issues, I could just do that. I didn't look at it as that's a problem. I didn't see that as that's, things.
You suppressing.
Yeah, things are going to come from that. I just looked at it like yeah, I'm just gonna I powered through it, and then so I got to a real dark place. I was like drinking like crazy. People didn't even know how much I was drinking, um, and I just was self-medicating myself. I was just staying quiet. So he was the one that when I told him, he was like, "Yo, just you gotta like burn all that down. Whatever you go, like whoever you think you are, you not that. It's getting too much for you. So you gotta start all over." And he was like, "Yo, just come up here." And his actual words was, I got broad shoulders. Remember, I'm telling you, 6'3", about 360, 370. I got broad shoulders, lean. That's what I'm here for. We've been through a lot. You, my brother. That's what I'm here for. You know, come up here. And I didn't, again, I didn't. So fast forward even more. I just got just to a dark place where I was numb. And, you know, I ended up, at some point I ended up doing therapy, which that's helped me. So I just want to paint that picture of who this guy was for me. He was, you know what I'm saying? He was there. He was one of those men who said, "Hey, I see something. This is not going well. You need to, and you can lean on me."
Right.
And so fast forward to it's October of 2019. I'm at work and I'm looking on Facebook and I see an obituary of his girlfriend. This is on a Thursday. And you know, it didn't make sense to me because in the obituary says she died on Monday. It didn't make sense to me because he would have called me. So I'm just looking at this like this is not her. And I'm reading through the thing and I'm like, this is her. So I call him about 7 a.m. I call him and he's like, he's already drunk. 7:30 in the morning. Man. Now he does not drink. He had a full bar. He was a smoker, but the drinks were for company.
Right.
And he's just, and I'm like, oh man, listen, man, I just saw this, and he's clearly distraught. And I'm like, yo, who's there with you? And he's like, Jay, his son, his oldest son. His son is like 20 something. So I'm like, okay, you got somebody with you. There was another lady there that was there, trying to be there for him or whatever. So I was like, all right, cool. And I said, this is a Thursday. I said, Saturday, we gonna come up there and take all your alcohol away. We'll get it back to you because you're going through something now. We'll get it back to you after, but right now, my greatest fear at this point, that he was gonna drink himself till he didn't exist. That's what my mind was. I wasn't thinking any further than that. He's gonna drink himself until he's gone. And so my solution was like, hey, and I called my cousin. I was like, yo, we got to go up there and get dude's alcohol. And he was like, and I told him everything going on. So he's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna call him. He called him. And then he called me back within 10 minutes. He was like, yo, we got to go up there now. I don't like what I'm hearing. He can't form a sentence. I don't understand what he's saying. I do not like what I'm hearing. And I'm like, well, his son's up there. I'm bargaining. Like he got there. Let's go on Saturday. And then we can, we're gonna get up there. We're gonna laugh. We're gonna joke. We're gonna try to get his mind off of it. We're gonna cry with him. We're gonna do whatever he need. But I'm thinking about I gotta work the next 2 days. Not thinking like, yo, like call in or tell my job, yo, I gotta be gone. I'm sorry, short notice. I'm be gone for the next 2 days. Y'all got to figure it out. I didn't do that. I was like, yo, we'll go up on Saturday. So he was like, all right, but he's like, yo, I don't like what I'm hearing. And one of the things I want to leave you with is, and it stuck out to me afterwards, is when I got off the phone with him that Thursday, the last thing he said to me when I was getting off the phone with him, he was like, hey, let me ask you a question, man. And I'm like, yeah, what's good? He said, yo, listen, when she left that morning, because she died in a car accident. So when she left that morning, she said, "I'll be back." Why didn't she come back? And I was just like, I'm like, yo, I don't know what to say to that, man. You know, and then that's what made me like that's what made me, you know, call my cousin. We're like, yo, we gotta, because he's in a bad way. So those were the last words that we spoke to each other. So Friday, I'm texting and calling because I'm like, he's not answering. I'm texting and calling. Saturday, nothing. And I get a text from the dude that does all of our tattoos, and he's like, "Hey, you know, I don't know if you know what happened to Jess." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know what happened to her." And he's like, well, he said, you know, he tried to, you know, end his, you know, he tried to end his life. He's in ICU right now, and I'm like, oh, you know, okay, we're gonna get up there. And it's, you know, when it comes to like hospital stays, there's certain people that are in charge of whether you can come up there or not. And I left my phone number because I figured the person that was in charge would see and be like, "Oh, this is bro, you know what I'm saying? This brother from another mother." Like, we going, but I never got, you know, there was never any communication. And the hospital's not gonna let you in, and they're gonna give you any information. They're just not gonna. They can tell you that the person's there, but other than that, they're not gonna tell you. And if there's an order, or if there's somebody who's in charge of the visitation, then they have to approve you. You have to get put on a list. I was just trying to get it put on the list. Long story short, I get that text, "Hey, anybody give you an update? What's going on?" I'm like, "No." And it was like, he said, "Are you somewhere where you can sit down?" And,
oh no.
Yeah. And that was, you know, that was it. That final, the finality of it was like one of them things where, you know, like I didn't get a chance to talk to him. I didn't get a chance to go see him. I didn't get a chance to, you know, tell him I love him and say my goodbyes. It was just so incomplete. And then I started to run through what I could have done better. You know what I'm saying? I started beating myself up. Then I went and looked at his Instagram, and I saw that he was basically saying goodbye on Instagram. You, like, when you read in his post, you could see he was telling, you know, his girl, like, "No, I'll see you soon." Like, you know what I'm saying? He was pictures and all this stuff. And so then I spent, and to this day, I still, you know, kind of beat myself up about it, because there was, especially after I started getting more training about stuff like this, there was so many signs there that I didn't recognize, and you're not expected to recognize, but there was a feeling that I felt like I needed to do something. I just didn't know what I needed to do, but I beat myself up that I didn't take days off and shoot up there and just lay there next to him. If I got to lay on the floor, he on the couch, whatever it is, that I didn't do that. So he, and the way he took himself out, he did two things. He used two methods. He wanted to be gone to his, like when his significant other passed, he was done. And you know what I'm saying, a big dude, loud, obnoxious. When he come in the room, he wanted to be known. Saying
shit, man.
Been through all of that stuff and then just gone, you know. And that was one of those things that stuck with me. And so when I started getting training on it, when I started getting mental health first aid, then I started to get the itch to do something like this and just have people come and talk about it. And then, like I said, offer some resources. And then that's really what I wanted to do. That's all this is really about.
Indeed, man. Damn, bro, that's heavy right there, champ. I want to just thank you, first of all, for this platform and for you being vulnerable enough to share that. Like, that's a real. I think it's a lot of thoughts, emotions going on right now. But I think my first thought just goes to the boiling over effect that a lot of Black men are walking around under. Like, there's a constant pressure from all sides, and most Black men don't have like outlets where you can feel comfortable being vulnerable and letting somebody know what you're really going through, because you might have a fear of ridicule, you might have a fear of being judged, you might have a fear of somebody, using that information, your vulnerable moment, against you at a later time. You know what I mean? But it's just sad that we're walking around boiling, and it's a lot of brothers out there that have mental breaks, that shut down under depression, that become basically shells of themselves, may not even go the way of unaliving themselves, but maybe walking around as an unalive person that's still with us. You know what I mean? Like they here, but they not here. You know what I mean? All just because it's so much pressure that we go through, and it's really no outlets.
Indeed.
Where you can feel comfortable. You know what I mean? Like even therapy, like as a person who does normalize therapy and who has it as a strong part of his life, like I still know, even when I talk to friends about it, they still hesitant. Like I'll give them all the resources I got and be like, hey man, I'll even pay for your first session. And they still won't make that call just out of the stigma of they don't want to feel like it's something wrong with them. You know what I mean? And I think it speaks to the work we got to do to like really destigmatize that amongst each other, and like really support your brother when you see him going through something, even if he ain't brought it to you yet. If you just see it, you can tell when somebody just carrying something. You know what I mean? Like initiate that conversation and initiate whatever they going through, whatever they trying to do, if it's a healthy way to try to cope with it, you know what I'm saying? Support them in that mission so they can feel more comfortable to continue along that path and seek out more help. You know what I mean? But it's just sad that a brother had to carry all of that, and that he gets to that point where he feel like he don't have nowhere else to go, or like that last thing was the straw that broke the camel back and he just blows up. You know what I mean? Like, and that's really what it is. It's, they call us angry, you know what I'm saying, as black men. They call us all of these things, but they don't realize it's not laziness, it's not anger, it's not it's a lot of times it's depression, it's mental health issues that's undiagnosed, and we're not able to either push through our own pride or push through the outside forces that's telling us something is wrong with us if we look for help. Why you can't man up? Like we even tell our little boys, don't cry, man up. You all right? Maybe he not all right though. You know what I mean? And we reinforcing those same values in our kids. And I see it, as a former educator and as a person that's now raising, you know what I'm saying, a young black man. Like I see in his friends, like the difference in him having that support here where he can feel his feelings, and it's all right. If you cry, it's cool. You know what I mean? Long as you dust yourself off when you're done and figure it out, but get that shit out. Don't hold it in. Don't act like it didn't happen. Don't, you know what I'm saying, repress that feeling. Go ahead and express it. And I can see the difference in him and his peers, and that rage that a lot of them are walking around with at 8, 9, 10 years old. So imagine that projected out to our age as men, and you carrying that same rage with nowhere for it to go, with nowhere to release it. And you've been just pushing it down for 30, 40 years. And then we wonder why you see men having these like real over the top and hyperbolic expressions all of a sudden. And you be like, well, damn, I thought he was all right. He was such a strong man. But you don't know, like the strongest of horses gets tired at some point and they back break. You can't carry everything. You know what I mean? So it's just sad. And I just pray that, more platforms like this just bring awareness to it so that brothers can know and people can know, period. It's okay to let people know you're not okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
You was going to say last call? You muted if you're talking, last call.
Getting goosebumpy before I begin to talk. I wanted to be here as like support or any other information, but even as I begin to speak about what I want to speak about, I'm getting super butterflies, which I normally wouldn't. So this hits me in a few ways. So I'll start by saying, so my grandmother had passed away this morning. you know. And she had a bit of age on her. She lived a long, good, full life.
Bro.
Appreciate it. So we're dealing with that right now. But one of the things that makes it difficult while you're speaking, this is one of the last matriarchs that we have in my family, and as much as I thought maybe I had normal situations around this, it's bringing me to a lot closer to things that I've been through, so I guess I'll start with my mom. That side of the family, including my mother, has really suffered with mental illness, but back then, I'm in my 40s now, we didn't really know what that was all about. And even my dad today is still has some sort of denial with it. And, they had split up and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to be too long-winded here, so I'm trying to get to the point and all that stuff.
Take your time, bro.
But one of the first times, I guess I would really recognize what, the S word is and stuff is actually from my mother. She really went through a lot with her, and that's not how she ended, but very close, and I hope to get to that soon. But she made a couple attempts when we were younger. I remember her finding her with empty pill bottles and incoherent, and they'd have to get her and bump her stomach and that kind of stuff. So even with that, along with my sister opened her mouth, and at school we were kind of the ones with the crazy mom, or his mom did that last night, tried to commit suicide, or the word, and all that kind of stuff. So while kids were going to school and I was in high school, that was a very big part, in my later years of that, kind of dealing with that. And that would kind of come up a couple times, through that, and make family life a little bit more difficult, because again, things weren't really diagnosed. We didn't have that outlet. It was tough to even seek help or even recognize it. And my father, even today, is kind of like, he still really doesn't recognize it as a thing. So, I want to, that was part of my life growing up. And you fast forward a little bit, I have a cousin, which we're a couple years apart, more or less. He's a younger cousin. And we used to live closely, close to each other and stuff. And, I think I was in college at one time. Yeah, I was in college. And a couple years prior to that, it was almost as though every 2 years, somebody was dying in a tragic way in our family. Car accidents, overdoses, that whole sort of stuff. I didn't really grow up in the ghetto like that. A lot of the elements, just outside. My parents did their best to take us from that suburbs and even still be surrounded by a lot of that stuff, Right. So, fast forward a little, families kind of split up to try to get their way actually to what we were talking about. I was on the Partners podcast last night. One of my trips to Virginia was for my, so I'm driving home from university. I get a call from my mom. And if you ever got to spread the news to somebody, do like they said for a brother of a certain age, make sure they're in a place where they could receive the news. So I got a call from my mom at the time saying that my cousin offed himself, and there was really, I'm driving and I was close to home, man. And I'm lucky there wasn't a lot in my way, because I almost ended up in somebody's front yard, of just the news. It really hits you. Doesn't matter how composed you think you are, your mind just goes into a whirlwind, at the moment. And, he was, I think maybe about 23, 25 or so, was a couple years older than that at the time. And that really changed. That was another opening to it, but that seemed so sudden. And we're talking about a guy, kind of like what you're saying about your friend, so gifted basketball player, probably was going to get a scholarship, ladies loved him, mad creative. He was one of those taggers. He could do the spray painting and all that stuff very well. Very intelligent young man. you know, he would read and take excerpts from books to remember and discuss and stuff like that. And so there was really no, I feel, kind of no warning. And kind of this was a time with no social media or anything like that either. So, you know, 1 minute talking to him and life of the party, and then next minute kind of getting this phone call, you know, and all that. There were some mysterious circumstances around it, like with his girlfriend and stuff. And I, you know, again, and back to something you said that I wanted to interject. You know, what do they say? Hindsight is 20/20. So you can't beat yourself up. You know, what you could have done, you should have done, and this, that, the other. Like, I could have called more. I could have showed more interest in this, that, the other. But what is important, you know, I don't want to be jumping around all over the place here. One of the things you said too, like, you could give all the phone numbers you want or websites, this, that, the other, but unless you're willing to, like, do what you said, like you would go to the house and, like, lay down on the floor while they put it out on you. Like, it's not enough sometimes just to leave the door open. It really takes a lot to follow up and take those steps and do what you got to do, you know, to do that as well. So
that's real.
That was a big
personal.
That was a big. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, he had a little brother, my little cousin. You know, we hadn't spoken for a while because he was a little young. He just wasn't in the group kind of deal. He was just a little younger. You know, we were the older kids sort of deal, so we didn't speak for a while. But every time we get together, it always gets very emotional. Of course, there's alcohol involved and stuff like that too. And actually, after so many years and stuff, we got a chance to talk, you know, smoke a little cigarette and all that. I think maybe last Christmas, and we're outside, and, you know, we were sharing some stuff with each other. And I took the time to apologize to him, you know, as an older cousin, for not being there and furnishing his mental the way that I felt like I should have, or make sure he's okay going through his adolescence. I thought, you know, I was going through a hell of a lot on my own plate, you know, but I felt like that's kind of like our responsibility. Even if you feel like both feet are planted on the ground, you know, maybe even that connection to see somebody who, let's say, is kind of like under your tier, but as a youngster, you know, to have that connection and to be able to do that, you know. But let's try to speed this up a little bit too. Just I don't want to be talking too long. But one that kind of irks me, and this says, you know, in hindsight, and sort of a message to you, brother of a certain age, that even if you do take those steps, it doesn't guarantee that everything is going to work out the way that maybe you envision it. So I'm going to try to leave out some details here, but hit the important ones. And again, I'm going back to my mom. So my parents, I'm out to college and stuff, kind of graduating and stuff. I'm glad that my mom was able to see me do that. And but shortly after, her life was shifting a little bit. Her and my father have been split up for a few years. My mother was having a hard time kind of settling and traveling between staying with my sister and I, a couple of different countries while she kind of set up her house and that kind of stuff too. So she was staying with me and my sister. I was like just off campus at the time, but for the main part, I would try to stay with my sister because it was closer, it was comfortable there, where I was going to school. And sorry, hang on, I got some people working on this. So my mother would stay with us, and one of the things I started realizing about my mother, I'd come home, and then we kind of had a falling out a little bit where she had asked me to buy her a bottle of wine, and I flat out refused it. And I said, no, you know, kind of drinking. I'm looking at you drinking a lot. You're kind of smoking a lot. I don't feel good getting you this wine. And I expressed her, and not disappointed, but she was upset. And I felt kind of bad refusing her this as well. You know, days would go by, and I really started watching her. Not even through forced observation, just because of kind of her routine. And I started noticing she was smoking like packs a day and one cigarette after another. And if it wasn't that, it was a lot of wine. Her doctor was not shy about prescribing her medicines and stuff too. So she had a lot of prescriptions and everything on top of that. And I remember a real clear thought came to me one night when I'm seeing her smoke and drink and all that stuff too. She was like young for her age. She passed away at 51. Like I'm almost that age. I'm gonna be that age soon, right?
Damn.
And you know, she was always the life of the party kind of deal. And you know, she came in a room, you knew it, right?
Yeah.
So because I witnessed her going outside smoking like cigarette after cigarette and stuff like that, I had a real clear thought while I was watching TV. Like I'm like, man, I'm like, Mom's trying to kill herself. Like she's trying to, she's trying to, you know, do away with herself, sort of deal. And that thought was very clear to me, right? So my thought in my head was to gather up the courage and confront her about it, right? And in a time like this with my family, we're not good with, no matter how truthful it is, that we have no blueprint for that in our family. And having those, we basically have a blowout or, you know, that sort of deal, or what it was. But maybe because I was in school and I felt a little enlightened about my words and how to approach people, and I was very aware of that I was going to confront my mom in a humbling way and tell her what I thought about it, right? So I gathered up my little bit of courage and everything, made sure it was just me and her in the house, and she was in a place where she was able to receive that information. So she was on the computer, and I was just like, hey, you know, you got a minute? And she's like, yeah. That was one thing about my mom. She was really real, man. She was real.
Yeah, she's open.
Yeah. And I just said, I was like, I'm just noticing you drinking a lot and smoking a lot. And I go, I know you're going through stuff, but I just like, this is the way. And mind you, you know, I'd smoke a little too. And definitely when I go out, I drink and all that kind of stuff. I had my own issues years after this, what I'm about to tell you. I told her I just don't like it. Like I'm just seeing this. It's not even like I'm health conscious like this, but I said, I just feel like this is not going to end up good for any of us, right? And it surprised me how she reacted to that, because she was very calm and very like, she says, yeah, I know, I'm trying to change it. And
she knew.
Yeah, no, people know. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, they know.
And she thanked me. She was like, yeah, you know, I'm going to try this, that, the other. And we had that conversation, and it was quick. It didn't have to be drawn on or super emotional or anything like that. So, you know, I felt good walking away, and I felt good that she wasn't, because there are certain people in my family that you could have that discussion and think it goes well, but now the race is on. Now they're holding something against you because they feel
they get defensive.
Right. So I didn't feel that with my mom or anything. It was like a good conversation. You know, we kind of went our different ways about that. A few days later, she would fly back to, you know, her home. I'm a little vague. I just don't want to, you know, give locations and all that stuff.
Oh, it's okay. We understand.
So she gets to where she is, and then I get a phone call. She calls me maybe a couple days after that on a weekend, maybe a Saturday or something like that. And we call and we have probably one of the greatest conversations we've ever had. We sounded like friends, you know. It was a good conversation. I felt like, man, it was really amazing. I felt like, man, I got my mom, she's my friend. And we hung up the phone, and I really was like, I can't wait for next conversation, you know, with my friend. My mom, this went so well, sort of deal. So fast forward 6 days later, you know, I think about 6 days later. So I get a call from my cousin that my mother had a stroke, right?
Okay.
And so she's admitted into the hospital, and basically, long story short, she's hemorrhaging and stuff. And within 48 hours, you know, the doctor's on the phone like, you guys need to come here, so on and so forth. She was on her way out, basically. That was the last time, basically, I would speak to my mom, that week before that, right? So
that's a blessing. That's a blessing that you had that conversation with her.
But listen to the crazy part about this. So we had that conversation, and then tying back to what you said, brother of a certain age, she quit everything, smoking and drinking, the day before that.
Damn.
She went cold turkey, man. Like she said she was going to stop, which obviously, if you look into science and medical sort of stuff, that's just not the way to do it, right? Because you shock your body.
That's white knuckling it. That's what they call white knuckling it, and it's like hard to do because your body. Right. I mean, alcohol affects your brain and your physiology. You know, so
you don't have to tell me.
I know, right. You know. I'm just saying, but I still feel grateful that you and her were on. She was receptive, right? And I just feel that's. I want to give her grace for that. You know.
Absolutely. So that
and you too. You know, I mean, you know, for being one to speak out to your mom, because that's not easy to do.
No, it's not. Mm-hmm. You know, you're younger, you're kind of in your place. And I still kind of have that feeling as a grown ass man that when my dad's sort of displeased or whatever, I fold into a little kid sometimes from this man, you know. And
I still don't curse around my mother, so
right. Right. So you know, just wrapping that up, you know, again, you know, I felt like I gave that message, you know, she received it and was making the change as well. And then within 48 hours, you know, that would happen.
Sometimes,
you know?
Sometimes that's the universe's way, but I'm happy that you at least, you know, offered your concern and your love for her, and she received it well. I mean, that's a little bit of something to hold on to, you know. But you know, alcohol is the most pushed drug in American society, and in most societies, actually, if you want to tell the truth about it. And it is the most damaging drug, right? I don't know if I'm coming through here. I feel like I have an echo.
No echo on our part.
Oh, okay. So that's just my laptop. But I just wanted to share with you guys, because I think this is a wonderful conversation, right? Particularly at this time in this society where we're challenged on all fronts. I mean, you know, Black men, Black women, women in general, our kids are being attacked. The public school system is failing us. I mean, there's so many things that are working against us as a family. And so I just think that, you know, as a person who has experienced the death of one of her sisters, a younger sister, who died in her bed. Okay, she died in her bed. She died at home. But it was sudden, and her daughter, her 20-year-old daughter, had to discover her in the bed. She went in and said, "Mama, get up. You got to go to work." You know, my sister had her rollers in her head, long, beautiful hair, and she was gone. So that was a shock. And then in July, my mom died. Okay. And she died within 36 hours, you know, and she was an older woman and had health conditions. And, you know, but as someone who has survived cancer, you know, you try to deal with these final obligations for your family early, right? So I got diagnosed in 2018, and now I'm still here, y'all, and I'm still good.
Amen.
Okay. But I had to tell my children that they might want to get some counseling, because I was in counseling because of all the financial products that I had to maneuver to make sure I left them something, you know, some wealth. Okay. And so while I'm doing that, I'm thinking, I'm just going to be honest with y'all, because this can happen to anybody. Cancer can come up anytime in anyone's life, okay? So I was thinking, Lord, help me. You know, I was praying, Lord, help me. Let me get all this stuff arranged so I can leave Lisa and Mia some money, okay? That was my main thing. And so I went out and I got financial products and I contributed to them, and I went through chemotherapy and I went through radiation. I went through surgery. You know, luckily I was able to retain my breast, but I mean, it can come back, right, at any time. And when it comes back, it's going to be more vicious and more aggressive, right? So I was up against a time clock. And I was not suicidal, I don't think, but I wanted to see my grandchildren. They are 10 and 8 now, and they're boys. And I didn't have boys, I had 2 girls. So my thing was, Lord, please help me, help me. I want to be here as long as I can. But at moments in that experience, I was in so much pain, right? That I don't think I was suicidal, but I thought about it, right? But I realized that I could not do that to my daughters because they looked up to me. I was their role model. I'm the oldest of the 8 children that my mom had. That's a responsibility, and I couldn't do that to them because I knew of people who had committed suicide and their families suffered so badly. They were, they felt guilty. They felt angry. They just didn't understand.
A lot of truth.
You know what I'm saying? And so I could never, and in addition to that, I was raised in the Baptist church, and that said to us that if you commit suicide, you can never enter the kingdom. Okay. So, this is all cultural stuff, but I thought about it. I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I can deal with this pain anymore. This is horrible, Lord. Why is this happening to me? And but what tethered me was the love of my children, the love of my sisters and brothers. At the time, my mother was still alive, her love and prayers for me. And I had so much support, right? Because I didn't keep it quiet. I shared it. I did. I shared it. I told everybody on my social media accounts, this is what's happening. I basically, on Facebook, I basically took them through everything that I was going through. And the love and support that I received was, it was amazing. It was amazing. And just people praying for me and wishing me well and telling me about their stuff. Because I think part of this thing is that we need to share with each other what we're going through. We don't need to be ashamed of anything. We really need to just tell each other how I got through. And this is how I got through. Right. So the main thing for me was establishing the financial products for my daughters, and I was able to secure that. And then I just wanted to live to see my grandsons. I am an older woman, right? And my daughter, who has them, I have 2 daughters, but the daughter that has them is an attorney in DC, and she delayed their birth because of her career, right? And I understood that, and I accept that. But at the same time, I'm getting older, and I want to be helpful.
Yes,
I want to be involved. I want to do everything that I can for them.
Right.
So when it crossed my mind, and then reflecting back on the individuals that I knew in law enforcement, because I was always employed in law enforcement. I know defense attorneys that committed suicide. I knew law enforcement officers. I knew judges that committed suicide. And the thing that the family was left with was, how could you do this to us? They were angry. They didn't understand, and they could never understand because the communication was not there.
Right.
I told them at the beginning, I said, listen, guys, this is what it is. I don't know how it's going to go, but I'm a fighter and I'm going to fight. And so, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to make arrangements, for myself, for you. I'm going to make it accessible, but this is hard. This is hard shit. This is painful shit, right?
Yeah.
And so they understood that, and they appreciated that, and they were concerned. But I had to tell them they had to speak to someone else other than their mother. right? Because there's so much involved in motherhood. There's so much involved in that relationship that I felt they deserve to have an objective person, you know. And my oldest daughter did it. My youngest daughter did not. My youngest daughter decided to move in with me. And she's still here. 5 years later, she's still here with her dog on top of my dog. And we're living life, you know. But I don't like being, I don't want to hide anything. I am not ashamed of anything, you know, because I have done well, and I have provided provisions. And I know, just like all of you know, that none of us are going to get out of here alive, right? But I'm not going to take my own life because of my faith. And what I was raised on is that you could not enter the kingdom if you did suicide. Not to say, I'm not saying that others are not in so much mental anguish. I understand this. I mean, mental anguish and pain that they think that that is the permanent answer to a temporary situation. Absolutely. And that's what I like about this topic. And that's why I tapped in, because it's not the answer, because you leave people filled with so much confusion. And I mean, just, you know, and we should be able to reach out to one another as well. We should be able to reach out to our brothers and sisters, our cousins, our aunties, our uncles. We should just say, I need help. Can you give me some conversation about this? I need a conversation. And my mother passed, you know, my sister passed. I told you about that. My mother passed on July the 2nd, right? And she was the youngest of 13. We're a big family, right? We're a big old, you know, big old family. And the last one surviving of the 13, I call her every Sunday because she's on dialysis, right? And she worked for the government for I don't know how many years. But anyway, she's on dialysis. And I call her every Sunday out of respect because I know she's afraid. I know she feels some way about being the last of 13 children. And so we talk about politics. We talk about my mom. We talk about food. We talk about celebrity crap. We talk about everything, but she looks forward to it, you know? And if she don't get a call from me on Sunday, she's calling her kids. I haven't heard, they call me Toonie. I ain't heard from Toonie today. Toonie calls me every Sunday. Get on the phone and get Toonie on the phone for me. I mean, and I get a kick out of that, man. I get a kick out of it because all the stuff I'm dealing with, I still love. Love is the greatest of the three. The Bible said faith, hope, and love. But love is the greatest of the three. And when it comes to love, I have no shame. I have no shame. Okay? Because there have been times that I got up from my bed to go to the bathroom and the pain in my breast was so hard, it dropped me to my fucking knees. And I'm just being truthful with you. I'm just being truthful. But I prayed about it. I took the medication. I got off the medication as fast as I could. And, you know, I'm still here. I am doing everything that I want to do. I walk my dogs. I drive. I do every damn thing that I want to do. So I'm just saying, life is for the living, but we all have to understand we all are not going to get out of life alive, right? So all you do for the people that you care about is love them. Love them. And then you don't have no regrets. Whatever they decide to do, you had no regrets. But we should always encourage our beloveds to talk to someone outside of the circle because they're going to get objectivity there.
Right.
They're going to get something that's not tethered to the familial history. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
It's not tethered to its objective, right? And so it's like, well, things like, well, what do you want to do if this happens? What is your plan for your future? How can you make this okay during this process? And sometimes we don't get any warning about them, doing what they want to do and being depressed. But one of the things I think that we can all encourage is less use of alcohol, because alcohol is a central nervous system depressant. It may give you some relief in the moment, but baby, let me tell you, it is a central nervous system depressant. It is the most pushed drug in American society. It is. I mean, they push it everywhere.
Yeah.
So
it is everywhere.
Yeah, I just wanted to come up and give my perspective on encouraging objective therapy for our family members and just loving on them. Just call them. Just FaceTime with them. Let them know I'm here. If you want to talk, I'm here. It means a lot, because you don't know what they're going through in their personal lives. You don't know what's going on behind their closed doors. But when my mom passed, me and my 7 brothers and sisters that was left, and I'm the oldest, we became closer. We talk all the time. We group. We get on FaceTime and we talk all the time, and we check in with each other. We send each other's gifts, because that's what we were taught. Stick together. If you stick together, but it takes a lot of energy if you don't understand what happened in the beloved who has departed life. It takes a lot of compassion. It just takes love, really. That's all I'm saying. Just keep loving, letting people know that you love them. You're here for them in any way that you can be. And realize, that things, no one's getting out of this thing alive, but you don't want to have any regrets about anything. That's my concern. I don't want you to have any regrets. Do what you can do. Do it whenever you can, and just make sure they know that you're there for them, and encourage them to get objective outside counseling, because that helps them to establish their goals. It's about them, because you're not in their mind, you're not in their head, you're not in their heart. You can never know. And the individuals that I've known that have suffered through suicide, they were very angry. They didn't understand why the person would do this to them. That's what they would say to me. I don't understand how she could do. And this is from lawyers to judges. I mean, you name it. And I would say to them, well, I am so sorry. I don't know what to say, because I didn't understand it. I didn't understand it, but I understand now, being through the situations that I have lived through, with the death of my sister and my mother within 2 years. Very, very unexpected, right? I can understand how my 20-year-old niece might feel suicidal after waking her mama up in the bed and my sister's gone. I can understand that. I can understand how my mama fell on the floor on Sunday and then was gone by Tuesday. I can understand it. But we have to pull together. This is what Black people do. We've always done it. And there's no shame in that. There's no shame in asking for help. I mean, we are deserving of a peaceful existence. And we are deserving of a peaceful mindset. So I meditate, I walk, I take care of my dogs, I do, I take my medication, I work, I do everything because I'm not in control of this. All I can do is love, and I love mightily. I love mightily. And I would suggest that to everyone and extend that love to your family members, because they may not be receiving it from anybody else. And you're not going to hurt them by telling them, hey, I'm just calling to check in with you. Hey, I just want you to know I love you. Hey, is there anything I can do? You're not going to hurt it. And that's basically what I want to say. And thank you, A Brother of a Certain Age, for having this show, because these are things that have been on my heart for a while. And I don't usually come on panels, right? But I felt safe in sharing my experiences here. And I'm thankful for the brothers on here with me that are sharing their experiences, because this is real life. Understand me? This is real. And we should be loving on each other, baby. All the things that we have been through and overcome. Listen, we should be loving on each other. And I love this.
I know that's right.
I love this. So I'm going to drop down, and y'all brothers can go ahead and do what y'all got to do.
Thank you for your word. Thank you for your word, Queen. That was much needed.
Appreciate you, Carla.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, brother, I just wanted to jump in for a quick sec. Remember when you were presenting this idea to in one of the chats, and damn, who was it? Propane started to say something. You remember that at all?
What was the idea?
So some of the things that we've been touching on. First off, remember the beginning of one of Dave Chappelle's special where he was talking about this scenario about this homeless guy doing this, that, the other. He knew a friend and that did that, and then knew another one that has been through hell and back. And he said he's never considered doing that. And it kind of ties into where I think, too bad he's not here because he said he'd be here. Remember, we cut him off to speak to as where I thought he was going. So part of the thing that he started saying was people seem to deem you weak. Do you remember? Do you remember a little bit of that? Yeah. And if anybody was on the chat or whatnot and remembers exactly what he says, because I really don't want to mess this up. And we told him to hold off on for a minute so he's not messing up the conversation.
Yeah, I wanted him to come here and share.
Right.
Yep.
But I think I know some of the area that he was going on with, because going back to my cousin again, and I remember I needed the time off of school, so I was telling one of my professors what was going on. And it was one of the first times I ever heard somebody say, damn, that's so selfish of him.
Wow.
Yeah, he said it loud and clear. He said it in a way where just like that, it took me back like, damn, I never considered it like that, you know? And then I don't know, sometimes I'm on the fence thinking either way about somebody who does something like that. Are they selfish, or were they weighed down so much that this was just the other option? You know, Propane was just like, sometimes they call these people weak. And what he started to say was, how you can't consider that person, because imagine what you have to build yourself up to be able to end in that situation, right? Yeah. So there's just so many, even though it was like around my family and stuff too, you know, and again, don't want to get all deep with my father, you know, he's going through a cancer struggle as well right now. And man, I hate making this so personal. So I told you a little bit about in my past how I experienced alcoholism and stuff like this. This is a guy here, did school, pretty good job, profession, went for my advanced degrees, all that sort of stuff, but still, you know, had those sort of issues as well. And it took me a while to try to get to the root of it, which again, you know, I can't speak for everybody, but they definitely say for Black men, it's a struggle when you go to get that professional help. We're just it's just a different animal. And I'm telling you, as much as I've been through all of that stuff, but still never let my own guard down to be able to receive that help. So at one point when I finally did that, I don't know if I was just too honest with it approaching the system, because I let my guard down. I said I was going to be 100% honest. I'm going to answer questions honestly. And it kind of seemed like to me, through all the places I went and whatever anybody suggested, I had people finally looking like for my best interest. Like, you need to do this, call this number, call all the numbers, met with the doctor, met with the specialist, this, that, the other. And it kind of seems like if you're not just showing up on a doorstep all strung out or something like that, then they got nothing for you. If you're able to sit there and articulate, this is how I feel right now. And I wouldn't be in a crisis center or a crisis situation if that weren't the case. Crisis is that. It means it means now. Right. And I didn't really find a whole lot of help with what I needed, because I think they needed to see maybe what they thought was a more extreme case. When in my head, I'm seeing everything around me. I'm like, no, this is extreme. I know I'm not messed up right now, but how I got here, totally messed up. There's people in the chat, whoever looks at this, who thinks they had drinking, this shouldn't even be here compared to the things that I've seen and things that I've done. You're talking to Leader a Day, Jack Daniels guy, the Handle, every day, doing every day, amongst other things, And I gotta say, congratulatory, but it's been about 9 months. I haven't had anything. I haven't done anything.
Salute, bro.
Salute to you. So
hell yeah.
You mentioned because I had it up here a second ago. I'm gonna go and share. Where is it? Okay, so let me make that small.
My old back of this chair.
Share screen. I'm gonna share the whole entire screen, and then I'm gonna pull up. So here you mentioned. So these are some of the factors contributing to suicidal thoughts and behaviors. But one of the things, cultural and family pressures, and the stigma. It's in particular communities of color. And it leads leading individuals to avoid seeking help or discussing their struggles with others. And Carla was talking about that too. We should be loving each other. And, part of my journey in this particular show is the destigmatizing. And that's why I like anecdotal stories. So when you look at me and maybe you talking to me in the chat or you hear me on a panel, you can kind of see where I'm coming from or why I am the way I am a little bit. But when you share these anecdotal stories and people can, somebody can relate to it. I'm a little disappointed YouTube, cut the other stream, and I don't know if this is gonna, I can do what I want to do, but I did want to like I said, show some of these things that factors that contribute to it. So we've got mental health, depression, anxiety, and Steph mentioned PTSD. High rates PTSD often due to exposure to violence, historical trauma, and adverse childhood experiences contribute to suicidal thoughts. Social and economic factors, cultural and familial pressures, trauma and violence. Living in a high crime area, there's significant risk factor. Historical trauma, indigenous and African American communities in particular face the burden of historical trauma, which can contribute to intergenerational patterns of mental health struggles. And lack of support, social isolation, lack of strong, this sounds like what you were talking about, lack of strong support networks, whether it's due to geographical isolation, discrimination, estrangement from family. These can lead to feelings of hopelessness and increased suicide risk, and inadequate mental health services. Communities of color, underserved, leading to untreated mental health issues and high risk of So these are some of the factors that highlight importance of cultural sensitive mental health interventions. So let me stop sharing that, and you guys if you want to chime in on any of that.
So what I see from that list.
Let me just ask Steph to the.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Hell yeah. What's up, Steph? Peace, Queen.
Hey. Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Last call. I just want to congratulate you. Good work. Good work. I've got 9 years, and let me tell you, it just gets better and better. It just gets better and better. And being able to remember what you did the day before is amazing. Being able to get up and feel good and not have to figure out how to nurse your hangover and how to get back on track is amazing. Being able to go to work and smile instead of like having the biggest headache in the world is amazing. Like, it really is. So, those are just some of the little things that I started to realize, man, your mind changes and you realize, like Carl was saying, like, this stuff was actually making it far worse. It wasn't making it better. It was a quick solution, but it was just aggravating the problem. And so, you got so much to look forward to, and just congratulations, and it's just going to get better and better, man.
Appreciate that, man. Now I'm dealing with my old body feeling.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. But once you get all that out of your system, and you like another few months go by, like your bones start feeling better, your muscles start feeling better because you don't have all that pent up stress when you're drunk. Really, your body can't relax when you're asleep, and so you really do start, your muscles start unclenching, and all that, and it's a wonderful feeling. It really is.
Also, it didn't start there. It may have started many years prior of many attempts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Before.
Absolutely. And those count. Those count. All those count. It's not like, I think a lot of people who are in the recovery community think that every new time you start sobriety, or you end a relapse and you go back into sobriety, that's day one. But it's really not. It's every recovery story has a relapse, and so and I'm fortunate in my 9 years I haven't, but I was the same way. I had years, 2 or 3 years, and then I'd relapse. I'd have 9 months, and then, or sorry, I also wanted to say that I'd have 6 months, and then I'd relapse. And so those periods of sobriety before that, they count. And so it's not like every time you get out of a relapse, that's day one. Because that puts a lot of pressure on your mind to think like none of that before it counts. It absolutely does. You learn from those experiences, and relapse is just part of the story. But we all get to a period that relapse is you're past that. And I think really what I'm hearing from you, it sounds like you're past that, and I really think this is going to be great for you.
And what you realized before also, and what's really important for people in kind of understanding where people are mentally. There have been times when I said that I was done with all that, and I believed it.
Right.
And I really, in my soul, in my heart.
Absolutely.
Not doing all that. Finish with that. And look at you dead in your eye with not even thinking I'm deceiving you. You still did. No,
right.
I'm good. I got it under control. Blah, 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 blah. That sort of deal when you don't, or you didn't.
Yeah.
So it really does something to your brain, man.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
And when I quit this time 9 years ago, it would be 9 years on December 15th. Right. I woke up on December 15th and I had enough. And at the bottom of my being, I had enough. I had drank enough for a lifetime, and I was done. I was done. And that's just that feeling when it's like, I'm done. I've had enough. It's like having a big meal and then realizing you can't eat anymore. It's like, I'm done. I've had enough. I gotta stop. you know, and it's not like you're not struggling anymore. It's like, I'm done. I'm just done. I'm full. I'm good.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, man, I tell you what, like, being able to remember everything I've done and not have to call people and apologize, man,
Yeah.
let me tell you, that's a blessing. That is a blessing.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then I also wanted to add that we were talking about lawyers, and Carla brought that up, and I was talking a little bit in the chat, and I started to think that, you know, lawyers and combat vets who come home and law enforcement, you know, that are suffering from PTSD, yeah, they have these peer-to-peer support kind of things, you know, available. But at least in the lawyer community, and from what I know from combat vets and law enforcement here, those peer-to-peer are overwhelmingly white. Overwhelmingly white. You know, and I mean, in my profession, like, Black people are disproportionately underrepresented in law, and, you know, as lawyers, as attorneys, as judges, you know, and I can't even imagine how hard it must be to deal with the stress of lawyering, and then also deal with the stress of being the only one that looks like you in the whole courthouse that's not on the docket, you know, and like that is just, I can't even fathom how even at the start of law school, being one of 2 or 3 in a class, you know, up through, you know, being in the courtroom. And I've tried cases where there was no Black people in the room except my client. I can imagine, you know, what that would be like to deal with that kind of stress and not have peer-to-peer support that has any sort of cultural, you know, has anything in common, or even it doesn't even look like you. And it's like, I can't even fathom what that stress may be like.
Yeah, in your most vulnerable state, at that, you know, wide open. Yeah.
Right. And you know, I think that's just, I don't know, you know, I don't, obviously I'm a white woman, so, you know, but I think I'm just noticing, and I don't know, you know, if there's anything that it would be appropriate for me to do, but I think, you know, at least I should be more thoughtful about making myself available, you know, and so I really, that stung me in a way to remember, like, this is serious, and, you know, people, a lot of the Black lawyers I know may feel very alone, and so that's just really, I can't even imagine. I mean, yeah, there's certain things that I'm different from a lot of lawyers. Obviously, you might imagine. You know, I've never had a lawyer in my family before. You know, we're first generation lawyers, yada yada yada. But there's a lot of white women walking around. You know, and so I think it's got to be a real added stress. And so that's just something that I think I can see that being really hard in a lot of professions that are already stressful.
Yeah, it's but I guess the best thing that anybody can do is, you know, point people to the resources. I know most of the resources that I have gotten are national resources,
right?
But maybe within the conversation, talking to that national resource, you can, you know, you can ask for, you can, you know, tell them what you're looking for, something specifically, or they may be able to point you to a local resource that can, you know, help you with your situation, especially if you are, like you're talking about, you are stressed out, and you are, you know, it is something about seeing a familiar face when it comes to accepting help and feeling and wanting to be vulnerable. And so, you know, maybe within those, because I haven't had to call any of these national numbers. I have them as a resource. It was part of the mental health first aid certification that I had to get for my job. So what I do is a little bit more hands-on to the individual.
Yeah.
And pointing them to resources. So maybe within those national numbers, those national phone numbers, because in the within the lesson and the teaching from It's National Council of Mental Well-Being. That's where I got my certification through. That's where the instructor came from. Within their statistics, they say that people of color are underserved. So it is a known fact. So I'm hoping that within that, like I said, reaching out to the national level, that they have something in place where, people can feel comfortable, and because that's what's going to help, besides the stigma and those things we bring from our culture growing up, those are barriers. But if people can find somebody that they can relate to, that's going to be that'll be a big help. So hopefully I haven't had to call those numbers, but hopefully within there, because they recognize that we're underserved, hopefully within those national organizations, they have something, that we can tap into.
Right. And I think, if we're encouraging, talented young people to go to law school and not, because I know I was a first generation lawyer, and even in a white family, I was told like, why don't you become like a paralegal or something? And so like, I can only imagine in like other, families where they don't have like a lot of, they've never had a lawyer before, or like teachers that are underestimating, youth in their schools. Like, why don't you just do like shunting them towards something that maybe doesn't require as much schooling or something like that? And, fuck that. Go to law school. If you want to be a lawyer, go to law school, and don't let anybody tell you, just do something else. And you don't have to go to school for another 3 years, or it's not as expensive. I took out loans to pay for my law school. I'm never going to pay them back. I am bound and determined to never pay those. I'm never going to pay them.
That's another show. So, that's the whole night.
Yeah, but I mean, if you want to go to law school, go to law school. And so maybe, if we can change the demographics, then some of these issues with the peer-to-peer support can be addressed just through changing the demographics.
Yeah. And part of it is, but the main part of it is getting the word out and having people have the conversation. You know, if we continue just to kick the can down the road, like my therapist, one of the first things he said was like, the way you living, the way your perception of what a man is, like his exact words is, that's total bullshit. Like, you got to get out of that, because that's what's killing you. You're not going to live much longer if you continue down this road. So part of it is getting that message and getting people to hear these type of things. That's shocking to hear. I didn't expect to hear a curse word, first of all, in therapy, but but it was for him to say, the way you live and then the way you look at life and the way you perceive what a man should be doing is total bullshit. And that first of all, we cursing in here, and then once I got over that fact, he spelled it out for me, like, you are gonna explode, gonna hurt somebody, you're gonna hurt yourself, or you can give yourself a heart attack trying to live up to this standard. You have to figure out, we have to figure out, because they don't really give you advice, they give you suggestions. Every time I try to say, so you're telling me, he's like, no, he wanted to make sure that he wasn't telling me that I had to do such and such. He wanted to give me some options, some tools to help me. But once I got the tools, I was able to deal with it. And still, you still fall flat on your face in certain situations. But I was able to, once you got more tools in your tool belt, you just feel a little bit more comfortable. And once I was comfortable more in my own skin, because a lot of people are not going to admit they're not comfortable in their own skin. I'm good.
Right.
I'm blessed. I'm living my best life. All that's fine and dandy. But when you get home, or you're in that car for that long drive and you're by yourself, there's the truth right there. And if you're not dealing with it on a day-to-day, that's what was the problem for me, because I always, hey, I'm doing good. I was telling everybody I was doing good. And meanwhile, so I had to look in that mirror, and I had to get those tools. And that's what getting the word out is about. Telling people and sharing stories. Last call, Tez, we up here sharing stories as men who can look vulnerable and not have a problem with it. But it's about somebody else, one person. I was going to do this whether one person showed up in the chat. And if they showed up in the chat, I was going to do the same thing. My presentation would have been a little bit different, but I much rather have people talking about it. That's, to me, much more effective. So that's the way we can get out, by having a conversation, and it's a continuous conversation. It's not like I'll do something else on something similar, but it's not like a one and done thing. Like, okay, now I can move on to, what's in the news and pop culture. No, we should keep having these conversations.
Absolutely, because I think there's no reason. You are not obligated to suffer, whether you're a man or a woman or anything in between. You are not. There's nothing about life or about who you are that makes you obligated to just hold it together and carry the burden. You don't have to do that. There's nowhere that says that that's the rule. You don't have to suffer. You can be happy, regardless of what life has given you or what you're going through. You don't have to carry that burden alone. You don't have to be miserable. There's nothing that says that you're required to do that. So, I think like my brother finally came to the realization that he doesn't have to deal with his PTSD alone just because he's a combat Marine. It's like, you're not required to do this just because you're a combat Marine. You don't have to. You can get help and get treatment for this and go on to live a life where this isn't haunting you as bad as it is now. And there's nothing that says that you have to do this. And so I think that's a lot of people, I think, are just, thinking like, well, that's just who I am, and this is my duty to just keep it together. You don't have to be that way. Life can be good.
Yeah.
So anyway, congratulations, last call again. Like, good job, and you keep at it, and you got this. So, and thanks, Roddy.
Appreciate that.
Great show.
Yep, appreciate you coming up, Steph.
And that's a reason why I'm not in a whole lot of spaces. I don't think, certain people and whatnot. But that was another reason why I thought, as I think a lot of people, showed up for this too, because this is underrepresented, for a lot of people too. And they really, of course, wanted to show you support, but also give this topic of discussion some support as well, and the energy that it deserves, because it's not somebody else's issue. This is our issue as well. Back on the point of, you were talking about resources and stuff, and not having that representation that you would want in these facilities or, in these organizations and whatnot. If Steph is still listening out there too, another way that you can help, in addition to having the resources, is to also, you want to appear genuine to that individual. And the way you do that is not being extra liberal by being extra nice, that your outreach is so far that you actually miss the point, right? That you are tailored to and really listening to this individual for what they need, so that you could properly prepare them and give them those resources, that you're talking about also, right?
Yeah, matter of fact, shoot, it's good that you said that. I am going to keep talking. I'm going to find something I want to share here.
I think there was one thing that I was remembering while you guys were talking about that too. Again, more discussions with my father, because we would butt heads a lot over this sort of stuff, and it baffles me and one of my cousins that we would speak about after the event that happened with my cousin in the first time, and of course, growing up with my mother's issues and all that sort of stuff, that my father still has this denial on his side of the things that we went through and whatnot. If I'm going to be brutally honest, my father finally, not even that long ago, but finally asked me that question: have I ever thought about the S word, right? And this is a time where I, like I said, I was being brutally honest, and I wanted the help and all that sort of stuff. And I said, yeah, I think about it a lot, And his response was, I never thought about it. And that closed that conversation for the longest time. He just said, I never thought about it. And he kind of like closed that door. But this is the same person that said to me, when I was going through what I was going through and, had those habits and whatnot. When I finally, lack of better terms, did reunite with him, he told me, I thought I was going to find you dead at the side of the road. I thought I was going to get that call soon. rather than, see you sort of deal. And just one of the things that's in my mind, even today, I think about it. I was like, if my son ever told me that, I don't know if you ever saw the movie. I think it's Matthew McConaughey is in it. It could be White Boy Ricky or something like that. But his daughter is an addict, and he decides to go to the house, the trap house, I think, scoop her up and get her out of that. Because that's what he thought a father should do.
Right.
So even the people close to you in your circle, the support system thing is so important. Just because, you have your father, you think you should be playing that role, or your sister, this, that, the other, doesn't mean that it would be beautiful if that were your support system, but also doesn't mean it could be a toxic support system, and it doesn't have to be. Right.
Yeah. That's why I was, when you brought up listening, and that we use this acronym ALGE, and it's assess the risk of suicide or harm, and then the L is for listen non-judgmentally. And that's an important thing when somebody is being vulnerable and opening up to you, that you don't, one of the things, like during the course, they gave us some options, and they showed us some videos of different people reacting different to somebody saying they had a problem, or they were struggling, and like that. Well, I had it worse than you, so you shouldn't feel this way, or why do those are things that people, they start to shut down. If I'm coming to you and I'm vulnerable enough to say, hey, listen, I need help because I'm going through this, and I'm not comparing our trauma or our depression. So if you come to me, it doesn't help for me to say, well, I went through that, and there's nothing. It'll be good on the other side. Just give it a couple of days, or just get up and do this, or get up and do that. But yeah, so the G is give reassurance and information. The first E is encourage appropriate professional help, which I'm always going to try to at least give people resources, or, encourage them to go seek professional help. And then self-help and other support strategies, which would be kind of like the aftercare, where you want people to, take the lead in their life, as far as like, if maybe it be some exercise, it may be some prayer, it may be some meditation, yoga, whatever you can do, some of those de-stressors. So afterwards, so if you can remember that ALGE, that's the acronym. You can look this up online whenever you get a chance. You can find all these things. But that's and so my training came from National Council of Mental Well-Being. If you want to look that up, that's where I got my certification from. And it is it's required by my job for us to take, certain certifications, whether it be, when it could be, because we do first aid, because we're an EMS unit. So we do first aid, we do physical first aid, we're doing a Narcan and all those things. But this mental health first aid, I want to say the last 5 to 10 years, they've been, it's been big on, they've been pushing that. So I'm going to go and show some of the things that may assist you if somebody is heading down that road or maybe thinking about it. And these are some of the thoughts of somebody who is having these mental health issues and possibly thinking about ending their life. Hopelessness, and that's the belief that things will never get better, there's no way out. Worthlessness, thinking that they're a burden to others and that their life has no value. Fixation on death, frequently talking about or imagine dying or suicide. Desire for escape, thinking that death is the only way to stop emotional pain or escape overwhelming circumstances. Carla Martin talked about that she was in so much pain. I went through that, where I was just like, I didn't want to end myself, but I just thought like, if I didn't wake up, I wouldn't have those problems. So, these are things that go through planning. So fantasizing or making, I'm sorry, say again? You can chime in.
Sorry, just repeating that. I hear exactly that mentality. Like, not that you're going to do it right now, but you wouldn't stop it. And that's
if I just didn't wake up, I would not have to deal with anything, you know.
Yeah.
Then there's the planning, fantasizing and making concrete plans for it, thinking about methods, gathering means like pills or weapons, even like looking up online, you know, how to do it. You know, like there's different things that people are going through. So these are the thoughts, then the feelings, depression, and depression is there's a lot of depressed people. Not necessarily means that they're going to do this, but these are some of the things that are going on with this person. Overwhelming sadness, loneliness or emptiness, guilt, shame, feeling excessively guilty about things they've done or haven't done, or feel ashamed about who they are. I struggle big with the guilt, shame, because of the things that I did, especially in my youth. I still recall like things that I did, and as I got older, or anytime I hurt somebody, like the pain that I caused, have a lot of, I struggle with that a lot. Not in this way.
To replay that over your mind over and over?
Over and over, because it's like, why did I do this? Why did, that's what makes me, I always say, if I never had to have another argument or a fight or a disagreement, I'd be fine. I had enough of that. And I caused enough physical pain and emotional pain to loved ones, because they're going to be right around you for the most part. But I've done enough of that I definitely recall and feel some kind of shame on that. Helplessness, feeling incapable of changing their situation or solving their problems. We all kind of been there. Just keep in mind, this is all stuff that could be going on at the same time.
Yeah.
One thing or one of these things could push you in that direction. If you feel like you can't change your situation, you feel like there's only one way, that definitely can contribute. Anxiety and fear, intense worry or fear about the future, life, or facing certain situations. We all do that on a certain level, but this is like extreme, like paralyzing anxiety and fear. Like there's no other way that I can get out of this by doing that, other than doing that. Apathy, loss of interest in things that used to matter, including hobbies, social connections, or work. You can, and these are things like if you have a coworker, you may be able to see these things. There's some other stuff in the next couple of, I think the last slide I want to say. So behaviors, social withdrawal, pulling away from your family, friends, social activities, and becoming isolated. These are things that you can look for if you know somebody that used to be out all the time, that used to be social. And it doesn't mean necessarily that they're going down that road, but it'd be nice to just go check in on them, because it could be just like you. Listen, all my other gatherings had drinking involved. I'm not drinking anymore, so I'm not going to go there. But the friends, instead of saying, "Hey man, just have a drink, come on out, stop being boring," maybe they just check and say, "Hey, how you doing, man? Is everything okay? No, I don't drink anymore, and I don't want to be there." Then, that's a reasonable thing. Increased risk taking, engaging in reckless or dangerous behaviors as if they no longer care about their well-being. I'm not trying to live to next week. I don't really care. I don't care what happens to me. And this is across the board. This is whether it be driving, drinking and driving, whether it be sex, whether it be, violence, fighting, like things like that, where you no longer care about your well-being. Giving away possessions. So this is, this would be alarming to me. Like some of these things are kind of like, it wouldn't immediately put my antennas up, but giving away possessions, disposing of cherished items, giving away things that hold sentimental value, or settling affairs, writing a will, saying goodbye, like those type of things, you want to pay attention to that. Sudden calmness after a period of deep depression. Some individuals may suddenly seem calm or at peace once they've made the decision to end their life. Hey, that I've heard several stories where before the act was successful, people said, "Oh, I saw him. He was the happiest I ever saw him." You know, he had been struggling. Then all of a sudden, he or she, they were happy. I didn't expect that because they said goodbye. And then a lot of times you hear people say, I knew something was wrong because of the way that person said goodbye. You know, so those are things. And the last slide is the last one. Yep. Appearance. Big deal. Neglected personal hygiene, lack of care for their physical appearance or hygiene. Big sign. Changes in energy levels. Either extreme lethargy, barely moving, seeming drained, or an unusual burst of energy, especially if they've been depressed. So that extreme change in their energy. Flat or numb expression, lack of emotion in their face, tone, appearing emotionally numb. I've definitely been here. I've been here for sure. I've been emotionally numb, and that was probably the scariest for me. Just, you know, not really having any feeling any way about anything or anybody. Just, you know what I'm saying? That was probably the scariest for me when I was numb. And I'm glad I got out of that because I was the most scared of what I was going to do when I was numb like that, because I just didn't care about anything. And signs of self-harm, visible scars, cuts, burns, or other injuries. I've dealt with people who have done these things to themselves. And, you know, it is a sign. Again, these things are not necessarily the ultimate indicator of what people are going to do, because all of these things, they can have all these things and not do it, or they can have one of these things and go that route, go the ultimate route. But these are things that you can look for. And you come back to this stream where we at the hour and 47 minutes where I started these slides. You can come back to the stream and check that out if you want to look at some of these things. I see, like I had on that other stream, I had the resources, and I'm going to try to find them because they turn the stream off. So I don't even know if I can get them. I should have kept them here handy so I can scroll them and just give people, let me see if they, because I know it's,
make sure you put it in the comments after too, timestamp it.
Yeah, I'll go back and I'll put them back in the stream in the description. And yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll go back. I'll put the resources because it's probably like 7 or 8 different resources, national resources to call, and it goes down the gambit of different resources and everything like that. But that's all I have, man. If you want to add something, feel free to add something.
I guess just real quick, I don't want to paint myself like I got it all figured out, because I certainly don't. I just know that I've had my struggles and whatnot, and don't even really like sharing like this to tell you the truth. But because of you and the importance of this podcast, and you know, this space, I feel like it is important. You don't have to know everything, but it does help to be honest about any situation as well. And just to tag on a little bit what you said about that information and having that information and reaching out. Again, my problems were my own problems and whatnot. But I also realized, in a way, I was talking to a close friend of mine, you know, way back when I started, you know, to be brutally honest about my situation and seeking help and that kind of stuff. And I was going through that, and I started way before that, I started withdrawing from everybody and whatnot. And one particular friend of mine, you know, he didn't sound quite right on the phone when I had moved away, and he moved away to another state as well. But we tried to keep in touch and stuff. And, you know, he was expressing a lot of the things that I was actually going through and everything. And by that time, I already had sought help for myself and everything. And I remember getting off the phone with him, and then, you know, just getting that inkling, like, you should tell him. You should call him back. So I called him back, and I was like, hey, a lot of the things that you were talking about, I've been experiencing that myself, and this, but not so much that, just one thing about the misery of talking about that back and forth and sharing those ideas. But I told him what I was doing about it, and I was, amongst all of us, I was probably the least likely guy to go and get that professional help or really speak on it and all that too. So things like that we're saying, you don't have to be an expert, but you do have to be honest if you're going to be bringing that out and talking about people's lives and stuff like that. And that's what I offered to him. And he really, months or whatever, year later, we tried keeping in touch, and hey, how you doing with that thing? Are you doing something? Are you getting help? And it took him a little more nudging, where he would actually be the open guy for that sort of stuff.
Right.
To finally get the help that he needed and get back on track, and even some medications and whatnot too. So I really do think, and as with the story that you shared about your friend as well, that if you do hear something, crisis kind of means like right now. And if your gut is telling you, you should act on that and do something. Not that, you could prevent everything and it's nobody's fault or anything, but, if you do have that little nagging in your head, to maybe that's all they need. Like I told you, opened up this morning, my grandmother had passed away, and I tried to do my normal run at the track in my own mind and everything. And a little bit of unusualness of this morning, people are stopping and talking to me. Older people are starting to have these conversations. I'm doing my laps to try to get 3 miles out of the way. It's like 12 times around the track. And around the 8th, this older man cheering me on. Good job. Out of nowhere. And I'm like, all right, thanks, and have this conversation too. So I don't know. I'm not super religious, but maybe the Lord does work in mysterious ways and stuff too. And it's the energy that you put out there that maybe that you get back. But it's good to be honest and go through that stuff while you're going through that stuff.
Yeah. Hold up. I got a guess real quick. Well, hello.
Hi, guys.
How you doing?
I'm good. I just want to say, first and foremost, I really appreciate you all coming up and sharing. I mean, the topic overall. And I know earlier in the chat, I think we all had the same consensus in terms of, especially being Black and the mental health. But I'm not going to go deep. I just came up here to, if you want a little humor, okay?
All
Just
right.
a side note. First of all, how about this? This is a heavy topic. We all understand that. But I had to be very mindful and put in my earbuds walking around. See why? You see how that works? Somebody might have caught me listening to that. Ask some questions. I'm like, ooh, let me put these earbuds in.
Yeah.
And then my grandmother, who is 102 now, there was, I want to say maybe 5-6 years ago, I was just calling people because it was just on my heart, right? Just, hey, I love you. I just want to tell you I love you. I was just doing that all around. So I get to my grandmother. I love you too and all that. I can't say my name, but she calls me a funny name. And are you okay? I said, well, yeah. I just wanted to tell you that I love you and I was thinking about you, because a lot of times our older relatives, they do that to us.
Right.
They initiate that call. So that was a funny time for me, and at the same time, like, wow. So it kind of works as a double edge in the realm where we are today, right? The topic, it was amazing. Glad she asked the question, but it shocked me too. Like, wow, I'm just saying, hey, I just want to let you know first. I was thinking about you. I'm catching you first, and I love you. And I did, like I said, I did that. My brothers, my mom, dad, everybody. I was just picking up the phone, and if nobody answered, I shot a text, and I was like, that's all I wanted. You know what I mean? Just like that.
Yeah.
And I think it spooks some people, because I am, always, I'm a hype. We all know this by now, but you know what I mean? I'm always the energetic one and yada, yada. But yeah, it is something to us as a people that one, yeah, even to check on one, um, a check in, so to speak. Um, you know, it could go either way, you know, and I know that, I know at least for me, having seen so much over time, I do understand, and I put this in the chat, that that particular act that one does is harder for the survivors because you don't have answers.
Right. Right.
That's the thing. Like, why? And then you go through all of those things that you mentioned. I could have did this, or maybe, or I thought this person was, and then it comes back on you. Like, oh my goodness. So the other side of that for me, in my big old age, is that I have come also to respect a person's choices too, because sometimes, you know, that just might be what they want to do. It's not even about there's no way out. You know what I mean? It may not be all of these things that us talking about it and listening to. It could just be, I'm just done. And sometimes you have to respect that.
Well, I said my people's, he did two things to himself. I'm not going to say what he did, but he did one thing and he did something else, and he wanted to, I had to say, yo, he was ready to go.
Yeah, he was determined.
He was determined to go. And this was, it was, what was shocking is because, like I said, he, on the outside, you have all this life to live, but from the time his girlfriend died in the car accident to him doing what he did, was she died Monday. By Saturday, he had done what he done, and he was ready to go. So,
and you know what? Even what you just said, he had so much life to live. All of it. That's our perspective. Isn't that amazing?
That's me. I'm saying.
Yeah.
He didn't want
and that's that side of it where it's like, because I don't know if it was last call or Tiz, it said something about that label. The first time in that label, what was it? Selfish, being selfish, doing that.
Yeah.
I've heard the selfish and coward. Okay, and I don't think either would apply. You know what I mean? That's just my perspective.
Right.
Because I think that's the type of thing. Because and for instance, there was a time where I think I was in high school. You see, I didn't even have a concept at that time what unaliving was, so to speak. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So there was a day I went to school, and all the kids were talking about this person being struck by a train. And me being me, and it was just so. I'm like, what? Why would somebody run in front of a train? That's just dumb. I said that out loud, right? Because something had to be said about him running in front of a train. See, to me, I'm just thinking, that was my small thought. Well, I'm a young person, but a teacher overheard me. She was so disgusted with me and just like, oh, I can't believe. And I'm just like, oh my God, like, what did I do wrong? See, that was a moment and an opportunity then for the teacher. Because obviously, even in my small mind, right, I'm not going to sit and say, that's just stupid, that's just dumb. Because that's a young person. It's a person my age at that time. I think I was in the 10th grade.
Yeah.
So later on, years later, it's like, oh my God, that's what that was. You know what I mean? And then it was like, so imagine, I don't even know this person, but in that thought, I'm like, oh my God, now I feel like that expression on the teacher's face. I feel like that now.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? That disgusting person that would, look at somebody like that, So it is a trip when you think things like that, and the things that you remember when you have these type of conversations with people or listening to the podcast. But yeah, that was one of those things. But I never, even when I thought back to it, I didn't think coward. I didn't think selfish, and I just think there's a lot of times, even if people know what you're going through, if they're not in a place to assist you, it's not going to change your circumstance.
Right.
You know, if you don't have the wherewithal or the will to get assistance outside of your inner circle, it's not going to change the circumstances.
No, it's not.
You know?
And
And it's unfortunate, but, and then I also want to point this out before I leave. People that may be taking different types of medications, it doesn't even have to be for depression or, you know, whatever, but it can cause depression. You can have those thoughts. And if you have a loved one who's in that situation, it is very, very important to look for changes, because see, these instances are different than what we're talking about, because that person will definitely be outside of themselves and, you know, not even have the, how can I say, the footing, you know, to not do the unthinkable. Right. Because the chemical, you know, the chemical imbalance, you know, has them so messed up. So yeah, I wanted to end on that note. And again, I appreciate you guys and thank you for having me up. Okay.
Yeah. Appreciate you.
I look forward to your next one.
Yeah, I'm just annoyed that that thing, I know it ended like right on top of it, but that fell flat. I wanted to enjoy the laughter in the chat, and
that was so funny, because I was just like, wait a minute. He said, put my name in there and watch what happens. And I do it. And I was like, yo, he did me like, I'm not lying. Because, you know, I didn't have power. And so I'm like, what the heck? And it said something like tap, try again. I said, oh, that's what he doing. And I kept trying. But the phone was moving slow because I had no power and all. And I'm like, finally, I'm like, okay, I see notify me. Yeah. But I kind of figured after a while, it was the folks. You know, they're not going to tell you why. Yeah, no,
it's very vague. And it said, I know you realized you don't know why, but we ain't going to tell you.
Yeah, I get it. But again, my brother, I appreciate y'all. And I look forward to your next one. All right.
All right. Appreciate you.
All right.
Bye.
All right, bye. All right, sir. I'm about to get out of here. Yep. Yo, man, appreciate you coming up, man. You know what I'm saying? And I want to do them hip hop talks, man. There's so much there. It's so much there. I was trying to get home to hop on. I know you was like, you hadn't planned on being on that long. And then as we kept talking, that's what happens. Like when you get that engagement, it's like, yeah, let's have a conversation, man. Man, we got to do that. We got to do that. I want to, if you plan it, let me know.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Then that way we could do that, man.
The good thing about this, I mean, I was on with the partners last night, and they were almost done by the time I got on. And I think it went about like 4.5 hours, man. And they started, and I was ready to go to bed. It started late. but for anybody, man, you got to go back and see the partners' last podcast.
I gotta check it out. Gotta check it out.
Into it, right? But yeah, man. Hopefully, there's a lot more subjects to cover and whatnot. I'm so glad, as with everybody, that you decided to do this. That you took this responsibility on your shoulders, and you found the necessity, even out of your own experience, to do this. But even more important, to do exactly what the month is about: awareness and information, and reach people. And I think it comes from your heart. I think it comes from your own experience as well. And it, you know, it'll definitely help people, and it'll help people help more people. So kudos for you, man. And I'm so glad that to be invited and to be part of your podcast, even watching as a spectator as you go through the information as well. So thanks for giving me a space to be here and chat with you and everybody too, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Thanks for being vulnerable. You know, this is, it's recorded, it's out there. So it is a, I don't take it lightly that, you know, I don't take it lightly when people are vulnerable with some of these things, but I feel like ultimately it can help somebody. And, you know, and that's the goal, to help other people. And I will do more lighthearted things. I don't want this to be like, what is he talking about now? And it's kind of like, doom and gloom type of thing. But these are things that we don't talk about that I want to touch on. I want to, let's these conversations, we kind of having them or we avoiding them. Let's have these conversations. So that's what it's about, man. I appreciate you for coming up.
Thank you. All right.
Yes, sir.
I'm stepping down.
Peace.
Yep.
All right. Appreciate y'all, man. Y'all stayed tuned for 2 hours. I appreciate it. Again, I'm gonna go back afterwards. If you come back, I will put all of those resources on the description. Unfortunately, YouTube zapped the first one, so I wasn't able to. They were on that one, and I wasn't able to keep those up there. So I'll go back and I'll make sure I provide those. And again, if you, the simplest way is to dial 988. That's the simplest way. That can get you to a lot of things that you let me put that up there. Text 988. That can get you to a lot of the resources that you need. So start there, but don't stop there. And if you decide that, or if you know somebody that is struggling and you want to point them to some resources, again, 988 is simple, it's easy to remember. So y'all be safe out there. I really appreciate it. Let me move this out the way and get this going. And always one of my favorite parts is when I get to play my intro and outro. Peace.
Yeah. Look, invitation sent, sign seal delivered, you got it, now welcome in. Engaging with the listener, a space for where you is. As we debate particulars, trying to build a bridge through conversation that's intimate. The mission is thought-provoking with words spoken. Bitter truth, not sugar-coated, just an openness placed on display. Wisdom in the words that he say, a part of just embracing every gray over here. No fear, clear, I'm unafraid. I'm much older, I no longer hold a child ways. Adults in the room, times past for playing games. Grown talk, isn't that the reason why you came? Simple and plain, delivery raw, straight to the chase. Better than before, learning from your yesterdays. Introducing insight, influence, be amazed by a brother of a certain age. Now rock with him.